Hena and I are going to take a deep dive. Yes, we are. We're going deep here into the world of chip making, the global semiconductor shortage impacting a multitude of industries after the coronavirus pandemic disrupted the supply chain last year. Virtually every automaker is experiencing issues in its supply chain. Volkswagen, Ford, Subaru, Toyota, Nissan, Fiat Chrysler, and GM have all had to halt or cut back on car production because the vehicles can't be finished without their chips. GM in particular had to shut down 3 North American factories as it allocates resources to its most in-demand vehicles. The CEO and Chairman Mary Barra joined me last week to share details on what the company is doing to ease this problem. Take a listen.
Right now, the issue that we're facing today is an industry-wide issue. We're working with our suppliers, not only our Tier 1, but Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4, to address this issue and really optimize the number of chips and modules that we'll have to produce vehicles this year. We're focused on our vehicles that are most in demand by our customers, full-size trucks, the Corvette and our EV products as well as our full-size SUVs. So it's a very dynamic situation right now. It is a short term. We provided our guidance that includes the potential impact of the chip shortage, and we're working every day to minimize that.
Kristen, I'm so glad you asked this question to her last week. I think we got such great information out of that, especially, I'm sure people do know, it was the former U.S. administration's actions against these Chinese chip companies that is playing a role now. But I think what a lot of people didn't realize, or the everyday American didn't realize, is how much this is affecting auto industries around the world.
I think you're exactly right, Hena. And for GM, it's going to be a $2 billion hit to its bottom line just this year. But even before that, Ford had warned it was going to cost more than $1 billion to its bottom line. And so it is a real concern. Of course, all of these chips go into those screens that you see in your car. So a key component, and unfortunately just cannot get off that assembly line without them.
You mentioned GM. They are shuffling to try and address the supply chain issues. The chip shortages we are seeing is the result of that larger problem, the world's reliance on Taiwan Semiconductor manufacturing company. They are front and center here. It's estimated that 70% of cars on the road have a chip that was made with materials from TSMC. 70%. So when the powerhouse company has problems keeping up with demand, like Kristen and I just mentioned, the whole world feels it. Taiwan Semiconductors is in the lucrative business of making wafer fabs that chip designers need for their chips to work. The creation of these wafers is extremely delicate and requires state-of-the-art equipment and top industry minds that no one else in the world has, or quite frankly, Kristen, has the money to acquire.
Look at all those hazmat suits when dealing with these chips. It is serious biz, Hena.
Yeah.
We often speak of some of the major chip makers here in the U.S., like Broadcom, Qualcomm, NVIDIA, and AMD. They all have some sort of office here, but these are referred to as fabless chip makers. So they just design and build the chips around the fabs that then Taiwan Semiconductor actually provides to them. And when demand is high and supply is low, this also creates prioritization dilemmas at TSMC, of which companies will be given their fabs first, resulting in a significant competitive edge. So I know it might be some new terms for viewers, certainly even for me, I'm happy to admit. But I think what's going on here is that this is like the #1 first stop, TSMC. And if it cannot get these chip components out to the many different stations along the supply chain, obviously then you do have the issue here at the final destination, which is the consumer, getting those cars or those laptops or those iPads to consumers, all of this creating a problem.
You did such a great job giving context to this, because I don't think a lot of Americans realize what we said, what a huge role this company plays in our everyday lives, and just the bottom line that so many of these automakers are now facing because of this chip shortage. Our producer Taylor actually sent us this article. You were talking about a competitive edge. They are planning a new $12 billion plant, TSMC is, in Arizona, although we don't know too many details, so that hopefully will help. But I think this definitely put it in the forefront just how reliant we are on this company, the entire world.
All really good points, Hena. And as viewers might imagine, for a company that has customers praying for more product. Literally, shares of Taiwan Semiconductor, they are a little bit lower today, but over the past 1 year, we see that they're up 150%. So massive supply for this company, trades with the ticker TSM. And the company says it's doing all it can to catch up, including accepting $9 billion in new financing to expand capacity and to open a subsidiary in Japan. The wealth of Taiwan, which China continues to watch closely, is intertwined with its semiconductor technology. And because of this, Taiwan's government has been meeting with TSMC executives to stress the importance of ramping up production.
That's absolutely right. In 2020, only 3% of TSMC's revenue came from auto chips. 3%. The bulk of the company's money is made from smartphone chips and high-performance chips for gaming consoles. Still, the Taiwan government is making it very clear to the company that manufacturing of chips for automobiles is the #1 concern at the moment, Kristen, even though it only really accounts for 3% of their business.
You know, I hope for viewers, Hena, we did a good job of describing this, and our producer Taylor did a really good job putting this together because, I mean, this is big business, and it did wipe out a good chunk of GM's gains in the stock price since November, and of course with Ford as well. And so even though we know that some of these durable goods items like cars, for instance, have held up during the pandemic, obviously this has been a wait.
You know, and it's curious to know, we were talking about the pandemic, and we've been talking about how the sales of these, laptops and gaming consoles have gone up. So again, these chips are in these everyday products that we're using every single day.
All right, we'll keep on this beat, certainly, as the story unfolds.